Soviet disk detected. To play the Allied missions, please insert the Allied disk.
Hello everyone, I'm a broken robot. While it might feel like just yesterday, things have changed a lot since 2016. Half the United States thought that Hillary Clinton was going to be the next president, Damn Daniel was considered the epitome of comedy, and Vine Hood compilations were at large on YouTube. While for some 2016 is the nostalgic good old days, for myself and many other internet users it was the year that we lost a great role model and friend. The tragic loss of one western lowland gorilla would tragically lead to an internet firestorm, which would bring about the modern landscape of internet commentary, debate, and even memes. That's right, my dear viewer. Today we're going to discuss the life, tragic loss, and legacy of Harambe the gorilla. Harambe was born in Texas at the famous Gladys Porter Zoo on May 27, 1999. He was named by Dan Van Copenali, a local area counselor from Texas who won a naming contest sponsored by the Gladys Porter Zoo. Sources claim that he came up with the name after listening to the 1988 song Harambe by Rita Marley, the widow of Bob Marley. Harambe is a Swahili term for communal labor and is a callback to his origins as an African primate. Tragically, in 2002, Harambe was met with grief when his mother Kayla, his 11-month-old brother Makoko, and his 2-year-old half-sister Azuri died of chlorine gas poisoning when a zoo cage cleaner left unused chlorine tablets too close to a heater that sadly killed Harambe's family on January 6. When Harambe was only 2 years old, he was without a family. For 15 years, Harambe remained at the Gladys Porter Zoo, under the watch and care of zoologist Jerry Stones, who was present the very day that Harambe was born back in 1999. After the tragic loss of Harambe in 2016, Jerry told news outlets that Harambe was smart, kind, and a gentle animal that was more of a friend than an exhibit. Harambe was a western lowland gorilla that are even to this day critically endangered in the wild. And after the loss of his family, Jerry alongside other zookeepers and staff treated Harambe exceptionally well and were known to spend extensive amounts of time making him comfortable despite being alone in his early life. Harambe was known to prefer his isolation, and even after being reintroduced to other gorillas his age and younger, Harambe never fully socially developed. In 2014, Harambe was moved to the Cincinnati Zoo to help promote a breeding program. Because zookeepers were worried that Harambe wasn't learning adult behavior, they were quick to put him with other adult gorillas. Despite the Cincinnati Zoo wanting Harambe to breed with other gorillas, he was noted to prefer his space, and would often be found in solitude except for interacting with younger gorillas, a side effect of his late exposure to other adult gorillas. Other keepers would comment that Harambe was very intelligent, and that he would regularly test the limits of his enclosures by exploring every inch of a particular area. Despite a difficult integration into the Cincinnati Zoo, Harambe was cited as being one of the most easygoing primates at the facility, and would spend the most time out in the viewable exhibit compared to other gorillas on site, due to his calm demeanor and friendliness towards zoo attendees, often sunbathing in plain view or splashing in his exhibit's artificial pools for guests to watch. Harambe had truly settled into his new home at Cincinnati, but tragically, this wouldn't be a long-term arrangement. May 28, 2016 was a particularly hot Saturday that saw people from all across Cincinnati flock to the zoo to beat the heat and see some animals. Despite it being a Saturday, the zoo was more crowded than usual. For the sake of this video, I'll be referring to the child that fell into the enclosure as Michelle Gregg's son, since while the loss of Harambe was soul-crushing and nothing short of a tragedy, it would be unfair to blame the 3-year-old child who fell into the enclosure. In fact, later evidence would actually lead many across the internet to point fingers at the mother Michelle when she attempted to start a Facebook account mocking Harambe's death. Anyway, on May 28, 2016, witnesses of the event told news outlets that Michelle Gregg's son was repeatedly asked to step down from the fence that surrounded the enclosure. Some witnesses told news outlets that they heard the child say that he wanted to go into the gorilla enclosure, and that his mother was unable to get the young child to calm down, wildly running around the enclosure's fence and climbing on and off it repeatedly. The boy then climbed a 3-foot-tall fence unnoticed by his mother, whom was attending the exhibit, crawled through 4 feet of bushes that were purposely placed to dissuade people from getting too close to the edge, and then fell 15 feet into a moat of shallow water. Michelle Gregg later told zoo staff that this all happened while she had her back turned. It was common for birds and other small animals like squirrels to find their way into enclosures from time to time, but never a human child. Zoo officials immediately signaled for the 3 gorillas in the habitat to return inside from the enclosure, and the 2 females did so immediately. However, the intelligent and curious Harambe went down and looked at the child splashing in the moat and climbed down to investigate. The crowd immediately went into a panic, and the loud yells of the crowd only further exacerbated the situation. Over the next 10 minutes, Harambe became increasingly agitated and disoriented by the screams of the onlookers, and tried to move himself and the child into the security of a rock wall near the center-left region of the enclosure. He carried the child through the water, occasionally propping him up when he sat or pushing him down when he stood. Harambe exhibited a behavior called strutting, where gorillas will walk around with their legs and arms stiffly extended to appear bigger, a bluffing move that, while not hostile, could be lethal with the inherent danger should he throw or drag the boy around too roughly due to his sheer size. Animal experts after the fact noted that, from Harambe's behavior, he was more afraid of the crowd than the actual child, and his continued desire to hide from the crowd showed that he was more focused on the crowd as a threat than the child. Harambe then carried the boy up a ladder out of the moat onto dry land, which Jerry Stone later commented showed behavior that Harambe was caring for the child more than trying to harm him. Afraid for the boy's welfare, zoo officials made the drastic decision to kill Harambe, doing so with a single shot of a rifle, killing the 400-pound gorilla instantly. Cincinnati firefighters said that the boy was between Harambe's legs when the shot was fired, and except for a scrape on his forehead and knees from the initial fall into the enclosure, Michelle Gregg's son would be fine. In the fallout of the death of Harambe, animal rights groups called it a murder. The Cincinnati Zoo dealt with a series of lawsuits from activist groups, and the internet universally mourned the loss of the gentle giant. Questions were raised over why the zoo used lethal force when fast-acting tranquilizers were on hand, and many began to point fingers at Michelle Gregg for allowing her carelessness to let the son fall into the enclosure in the first place. I don't claim to be an animal expert, but from what I could find online, the Cincinnati Zoo feared that using a tranquilizer could cause Harambe to fall onto the boy, suffocating him, or that it wouldn't react fast enough, allowing Harambe to lash out at the child in his lap. Zoo director Thane Maynard stated, quote, "The child was being dragged around. His head was banging on concrete. This was not a gentle thing. The child was at risk," end quote. Harambe might not have meant to put the child in danger, but his size and weight made it too much of a risk for the zoo to take in their eyes. While the dust was settling at the Cincinnati Zoo, online memes, fan art, and even an entire movement called Dicks Out for Harambe spread across the internet. People all over the world were outraged over the killing of such an endangered animal, and very few clear answers were provided by the authorities besides vague answers of it being too much of a risk. As Harambe became more famous, Michelle Gregg, alongside her son and boyfriend, increasingly stepped back from the spotlight, citing threats and fear for her son's safety. Today, little is known about the child who fell into the enclosure, but the forgotten remains of a Facebook account created by Michelle Gregg impersonating her son only threw gas on the flames of outrage over the death of Harambe. Such posts like, "Yet no one cares about the person who got attacked by the gorilla, me, monster gorilla. I feel bad for myself. Not a nice gorilla. Thank you, Zoo, for killing the gorilla and saving my life." These Facebook posts being released so soon after the death of Harambe turned the internet against her, and she lost what little sympathy she had from the pro-life Harambe supporters. Things finally calmed down when Michelle released a statement, quote, "I want to thank everyone for their thoughts and prayers today. What started off as a wonderful day turned into a scary one. That was my son that fell into the gorilla exhibit at the zoo. God protected my child until the authorities were able to get him. My son is safe and was able to walk away with a concussion and a few scrapes, no broken bones or internal injuries. As a society, we are very quick to judge how a parent could take their eyes off their child, and if anyone knows me, I keep a tight watch on my kids. Accidents happen, but I am thankful that the right people were in the right places today." End quote. The grandmother of the child, Valerie Dickerson, told Daily Mail that she was saddened by the creature's death and said, quote, "For me, I think they could have gone another route, though they said they couldn't, but mainly I just thank God my grandson is okay." End quote. This interview showed the more human side of this terrible loss. While you're allowed to have a strong opinion about Michelle Gregg and what happened that day, it's obvious that she was just thankful that her son wasn't harmed. In June of 2016, Ohio State prosecutor Joe Dieters said that the mother would not face any charges of wrongdoing. The DA's office universally came to the conclusion that it's not a crime to let your child out of your sight for a moment, and in light of the firestorm of the backlash, they looked favorably upon Michelle Gregg's case. The zoo was investigated by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, better known as AZA, which sets the standards for zoos and regulations around enclosures across the United States. While many witnesses after the fact claimed that it would be more than easy for a child to wander into the enclosure, the gorilla exhibit's safety fences were up to code, and within the association standards. To this day, the Cincinnati Zoo defends its choice, and as many experts have leaned into the situation, most zoologists would agree that the use of lethal force was a necessary evil despite counter-arguments. As time marched on, the loss of Harambe went from being current news to nothing more than a bitter memory, with his legacy continuing online in the form of memes, and even today in 2024, the occasional Harambe content will fall into your feed. Harambe the western lowland gorilla exists as a memory, and as a beacon for animal rights, the importance of protecting and respecting all wildlife, and proof that human error can catch animals in the crossfire. I personally don't know how to feel about this event. Obviously, I'm happy that Michelle Gregg's son wasn't harmed in the event, but at the same time, it's nothing short of a crime that Harambe was murdered over the carelessness of a single zoo attendee. Feel free to leave a comment down below. Let me know how you guys feel about the situation, or if there are any other news or environmental sources that I should check out for further information. But more than anything, I'm so thankful to have each and every one of you in my audience today. I hope you all enjoyed the video and maybe even learned something new. If you like what you see, feel free to hit the like button. That way I know you guys want more content, and it helps me out personally in the YouTube algorithm, so hey, thanks a bunch. Don't forget to subscribe and join the Robot Factory today. We cover a wide variety of topics here on the Broken Robot Show, ranging from interesting stories, game reviews, pop culture, and even the occasional philosophy video. So there's always something for everyone here. I hope you all have a great day. If you're going to take a small child to the zoo, never let it out of your sight, and stay cool.